After months of negotiations, hopes for bipartisan police reform were dashed this fall after the talks broke down. But many states not only weren't content to wait for Congress to do the right thing, they did their own thing, enacting their own changes to policing in 2021. Rashaan Ray is the Senior Fellow for Governance Studies at the Brookings Institution, and he is in Washington, D.C. this morning. And Rashaan, as you look around the nation, what are some of the policing changes that you did see that happened this year that caught your eye?
Well, Dale, thanks as always for having me on. I think we have to start right in the DMV in the state of Maryland, which passed the Maryland Police Accountability Act. It actually repealed the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights. Maryland was the first state to do that several decades ago. That legislation essentially allows for qualified immunity in many ways to go on steroids, where police officers do things personally. They might engage in domestic abuse, they might engage in sexual assault, and LEBOR oftentimes provides those protections. There were also a series of other things wrapped up in that dealt with investigations for police killings and also creating a statewide database to ensure that officers can't go from department to department if they've been suspended or let go. North Carolina is doing something similar to that. We know in California, and I was part of this as well, they created a larger decertification process. Collectively, these forms of legislation are creating more transparency and more accountability and equity for the public to be involved in the process. And what we need now is for this to happen on a federal level in a big way.
And I was going to ask you that because we are seeing things happen on the state level. In Virginia, for instance, Mark Herring, the Attorney General, suing the Windsor Police Department. You may recall that was the police department that arrested the Army lieutenant and told him to get on the ground and then tased him. And the officer saying, "You're going to ride the lightning right now." So the state of Virginia is actually suing a city in the state of Virginia. I know you're from Tennessee. Lots of focus on Breonna Taylor and what happened there. Are we now starting to see cities do the things that Capitol Hill won't do?
I definitely think so. Look, I testified on legislation, not only that Maryland Police Accountability Act, but also a series of legislation in the state of Virginia. And part of what we're seeing is state level oversight, where state attorneys are coming in and saying, look, we're going to investigate what's happening locally. We're going to hold them accountable. We know that at the federal level, the Department of Justice is doing a lot of pattern and practice investigations. We saw that under Obama, didn't happen under Trump, it's coming back under Biden. So at the state level and the local level, we're seeing a lot of movement, and that is good. But we also have some states that are going in the exact opposite direction. And I think where we're heading, not just dealing with policing, but dealing with DEI and critical race theory discussions more broadly, we're seeing some states moving forward with progress and some states actually trying to regress the progress of the past.
Rashaan, are they doing this because it's the right thing to do, or are they doing it because it is costing them millions of dollars, $27 million in a civil settlement in Wisconsin? With regards to the George Floyd case, we're seeing these cases now being settled over and over again. It is costing the cities and the states millions of dollars. So are they doing it because they know it's the right thing to do, or are they doing it because it's just becoming too expensive?
I think it's probably the latter with how much this is costing. We did an analysis of some of the largest metropolitan areas in the United States. And if we look, say, over the past 5 years, they've spent over $250 million in civil settlements for police misconduct. And over half of police killings actually occur in smaller jurisdictions where they actually don't have the city budgets to be able to pay for it. What people have to understand is that their tax money is actually paying out these settlements. So from George Floyd to Breonna Taylor to Freddie Gray and others, the money that was paid out actually came from those individuals' own pockets and their families' pockets. Instead, what we need is to have a certification process that is linked to insurance for police department insurance policies, as well as individual officer liability insurance. Colorado has been moving in that direction as they repeal qualified immunity. I think more will follow that because it is simply being too costly. As we talk about how much it's costing to put food on the table, how much it's costing to heat schools, to ensure that kids are in schools and that people are making the money that they're making. And all of a sudden, we're seeing that police officers are costing municipalities money. These are things that have to change because in some places they have literally gone bankrupt for trying to pay for these civil settlements.
Rashaan Ray, he was a Senior Fellow of Governance Studies in the Brookings Institution. And by the way, a reminder, yes, I know, Minneapolis, Minnesota was George Floyd. Rashaan, thank you very much.